A very good morning to you. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Trap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day today. It is a Monday, and I know sometimes it's kind of hard to get back into rhythm. It's kind of hard to get back into daily life after a weekend. But don't worry, because I am going to be with you for a couple of hours, talking about a lot of interesting things and giving you ways on how you can beat the Monday blues. Apart from that, actually, we have a lot of things to talk about. We have a lot going around. We have a lot going on actually in the UK and around the world as well. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio so that you can keep in touch with us. You can let us know what's going on with you because I would absolutely love to hear from you. So if you want to share with me your weekend experiences, or if you want to add on to anything we're talking about, all you gotta do is comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our lives. If not, very simply, you could call me on 07852 473 473. Now, I also want to remind you to download our app, okay? It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android. And all you got to do is head on over to Play Store or App Store and download our app so that you can take us with you wherever that you go. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. So I want to make sure that you're a part of the show because this is interactive radio. This is the show where I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know your opinions, your thoughts, and your ideas. So go on ahead and don't feel shy, don't feel embarrassed. Go on right ahead and call me up or connect with me so that we could have a good conversation. Now, the number to call me is 07852 473 473, like I told you before, or very simply, you could comment down below and get on board the show. With that being said, I think it's about time that we talk about something very interesting. With it being a Monday, I feel like today, especially for me, it was kind of hard to get back into a work day. After the weekend, it's kind of hard to adjust with day to day life after having a good break on Saturday and Sunday. It's kind of hard to get back into work on a Monday. Now, what I'm going to try to do within the next couple of minutes actually is to talk to you about ways that you can beat the Monday blues. Okay. Now, if you are feeling kind of lethargic today and if you're feeling kind of blue and under the weather, first thing, I want you to know that it's not uncommon, okay? It's the start of a work week and it can bring a serious case of lethargicness, of laziness, of sadness, and just watching your favorite show isn't going to be the answer to hype you up. And that kind of sucks sometimes. Now, if you're no fan of Monday, the chances are that it's not the day itself that you dislike. It's kind of what you have to do, or thinking about what you have to do upon waking up that makes you hate the day. Now, that may be work. Your pangs of dread rather are about the task at hand. So make that smaller part of your day. Does that make sense to you? Because that's definitely one way that I deal with negativity, especially that negativity that comes after a weekend or a couple of holidays. Now, every day should be about you absolutely nailing it, you absolutely crushing it, and making other people feel good. And that shouldn't change for any day. So, okay, I'm going to try to help you not to hit the snooze button, and I'm going to help you, give you some tips, and help you to turn Mondays into the best day of the week. Now, with that being said, the first thing that I do want to start off is with this idea that a lot of us tend to do, right? A lot of us tend to live for the weekend. Now, studies show that people who are stressed at work tend to be much happier on the weekend. So, what I want you to try out, or what I want you to try to do is to not only look forward to Saturday and Sunday. I want you to try to spread out the joy and plan something fun during the week. Maybe a movie night with your pals, or maybe going out for a couple of drinks with your family or your friends or whatever. So that I want you, in order to beat the Monday blues, the first thing that you need to do is stop living for the weekends. Like I tell you always, life needs to be about enjoying every single minute, okay? So I want you to do whatever it takes to enjoy as much as possible at different times of the day, at different times of the week, actually. Now, there are actually 7 days in the week, and I want you to make them all count. Okay, if you do that, you're not going to live for the weekends. Thus, it's going to make getting up on Monday morning so much easier. In fact, I want you to book for a movie night on Monday night itself, so that you kind of won't dread the idea of a Monday. So even if it's something as simple as just an arrangement to go out with friends or have a call with a couple of your friends, make sure that you don't live for the weekend, that you spread out your joy, spread out enjoyment within the week, so that you don't live for the weekend, you don't wait for the weekend, and your entire 7 days of the week tends to be happy and tends to be full of joy, right? And that way, it's going to be so much easier for you to deal with your Monday. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about is don't see, you need to understand that Sunday you need to treat it as a day of rest. Now, while midweek social time is all well and good, a balanced life is absolutely the best way to see Monday. See, it's just another day rather than a horrible day to begin with, which is kind of the idea that a lot of us have about Mondays. We're all afraid of Mondays. We hate Mondays. We hate waking up on Mondays. But you need to start changing that mindset, that kind of ideology. So to do that, you need to pick either Friday or Saturday night to go out and spend another evening staying home with your friends. Does that make sense to you? Because that is definitely one thing that will help you to deal with your Mondays better. So take some time for yourself, whether it's getting yourself pampered or I don't know, whipping up yourself an amazing meal. That always works for me. Or getting in a workout or get time taken for yourself is going to balance out those feelings about giving your Monday to an employer. Does that make sense? So what I want you to do in order to not hate the idea of a Monday, what you need to do is enjoy your Sunday. Do whatever it takes to be happy. Do whatever it takes, like I told you, even if it's cooking a meal for yourself or if it's getting a workout. Take time for yourself on a Sunday so that you won't dread Monday so badly. So that is definitely one thing that you can do in order to get rid of any of the Monday blues. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about is sleeping in. A lot of us, when we are on holidays, if it's a day off, we love to sleep in. Sleep for me is an absolute luxury, but that might be best avoided if you don't want to hate Mondays with a passion. Now, see, a lot of us hate Mondays is because we've gotten so used. Saturday and Sunday we sleep in, we wake up at 12, we wake up at whatever time we want to, and that just creates so much of hate and so much of negativity to the fact that we need to get up early morning on Monday. And it kind of makes it harder for your system as well, because you're used to waking up at a certain time 5 days of a week, and then Saturday, Sunday, if you break that kind of rhythm, your internal clock rhythm, it's going to be so much harder for you to wake up on that time on Monday. So make sure that you don't sleep in on Saturday and Sunday. It is your free day, so make sure that you wake up. Obviously get your rest, get your 8 hours of sleep, but don't sleep excessively, because that just makes you so much more lethargic, and that is one of the main causes of Monday blues. So if you want to stop hating your Mondays, you need to stop sleeping in on Saturday and Sunday, so that it makes it easier for you to wake up in the morning on a Monday to get back to work and to get back hustling. So definitely get your rest, but make sure that you don't sleep in on a Saturday and Sunday. Now, with that being said, the other thing why we hate Mondays is because of waking up in the morning. I don't know about you, but tell me if it's different for you. Do you hate Mondays? Because I definitely do. Mondays are not my favorite. It is not a day that I like, and it's because I feel like Friday night you stay up till late, either binge watching movies or you stay up till late talking to friends or going out, if that's possible, with lockdowns easing out and everything. It's kind of hard on Sunday as well to go back to sleep at the exact same time you're supposed to. But we stay up till late, we watch our movies, we talk to friends, we go out for a couple of drinks, and it's kind of hard to wake up in the morning on Monday, which kind of gives you this negativity that encircles the day in itself. Now, that's definitely something that you don't want. So if you want to get rid of your Monday blues, if you want to be as productive as possible, and if you want to love your Mondays, I want you to promise me that you will hit the hay, you would sleep on time and get your 8 hours of rest, so that you can be as productive as possible on Monday as well. Now, with that being said, generate good vibes on a Monday, especially. For me, I'm not the biggest fan of Monday, to be honest, but I think for me, a life changing hack or a tip was to, in fact, generate good vibes. And how I do that is through music, right? Make sure that you have a cold shower early in the morning, make sure that you have a cup of coffee, but make sure that you also have good music, while getting ready to work. Turn up the stereo or Apple Music or whatever kind, wherever, Spotify, wherever you listen to your music from. Make sure that you turn up the music so your body kind of gets used to the Monday and you're not going to have the Monday blues. So music definitely can be a huge solution. It can help you to get back into the rhythm of things on a Monday, and it can definitely help you to get rid of those Monday blues. Now, with that being said, I have a lot more ideas and thoughts to share with you. We have a lot of people tuning in, and I want to say a big thank you to everybody listening in on all of our platforms. And if you want your voice to be heard by everybody that's listening in, we're streaming on a multiple platforms. And if you want your voice to be heard, if you want to share your thoughts and your ideas, all you gotta do is comment down below, or very simply, you could call me up. Or if you're listening to in on our lives, like I told you, all you gotta do is comment down below so that you can share your ideas, you can share your thoughts, even if it disagrees with what I'm saying, it's perfectly fine. You can share your ideas with all of the Relax fans listening in, not just from the UK, but around the world as well. So make sure that you comment down below or call me up on our number. That's 07852473473. And make sure that you go show us some love on our social media platforms. With that being said, we have a lot more interesting conversation coming up. So I want to make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. But before we get on into more interesting conversation, let's take a break for a couple of seconds. welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Wrap. This is the show where we talk about all things interesting. This is the show where we talk to you, give you a little inspiration to get going with your day. Now, it is a Monday, and I know for a lot of us, it's kind of hard to get back into the groove on a Monday, especially after 2 days of, well, relaxing, I would say. And I know it's kind of hard because a lot of us got Monday blues. It's hard to be productive. It's hard to keep being positive. But I want to share with you a few tips and tricks, like I did before, about what you can do in order to get rid of your Monday blues. Now, earlier on, if you were tuning in, we were talking about a lot of different things. I told you how you need to how you need to stop living for the weekend, how you need to spread your enjoyment across all 7 days of the week. But one thing that I came across that I think is absolutely important to be positive, to be happy on a Monday, is to smile. Now, I know this sounds super cliche, and I know you've probably heard this a lot of times on all of those posts on social media, inspirational posts on social media, and the only thing that they say is to smile all the time. And I know it sounds a really cliche, but I feel like a lot of us, including me, we have not really grasped the concept of how important it is to be excited and to be smiling and happy all the time. Now, I want you to try something for me. If you're not such a big fan of Mondays, if you don't really like Mondays, well, at least next Monday or tomorrow, I want you to try something. I want you to try smiling more often. And it means flashing a grin at your barista, or flashing a grin at this person on the road that you pass by while you go to work, or smiling during your Zoom meeting before you actually start your official meeting. Now, these little things can actually help make your Monday better. Because at the end of the day, smiling is extremely contagious. When I don't know if you felt it, but it's definitely something that I've felt in my life. When I am around somebody that is very positive, that is smiling all the time, it kind of makes me more positive. It kind of makes me want to smile a little bit more as well. And that, my friends, is because smiling essentially is very contagious. So, smiling could help you feel a lot better. And others too, if it's in the office or school or whatever it is, you need to understand that you're not the only person that's hating Mondays. Everybody else you're at work with probably wishes they were at home and probably wishes it was Saturday, Sunday again. So, spreading the positivity, spreading the joy could really go a long way. Now, if you're the one in office, uh, if you're the one in office dishing out smiles on a Monday, plus plenty of positivity is going to head back your way. Okay. And that essentially is going to make the first day of work not so bad as at all. Right? If you give positivity, you're going to get a lot of positivity as well, and that's going to help you deal with the first day of the week. So you can improve the start of your week just by putting on a happy face, and that is definitely a great place to start. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about is treat yourself. Make Monday kind of a rewarding experience. Indulge in a piece of chocolate or do someone like shopping during the lunch hour, or even, go out with friends or watch a movie. Do something that you absolutely love to do. That way, you're basically tricking your brain to believe that Monday is an amazing day, that Monday is absolutely fantastic. So, treat yourself on a Monday. That's going to help you be more positive. That's going to trick your brain. Like I told you before, it's going to trick your brain into kind of believing that Mondays are good. And that's going to help you be more positive and get rid of all of those Monday blues. Now, with that being said, we have a lot more amazing things to talk about. One thing that I do want to get to, having spoken of how to get rid of Monday blues, I want to talk about something a little bit more serious, and that is free public transport. Is free public transport a necessity, or is it just ridiculous in our society, or is it something that needs to be implemented? I would absolutely love to hear your opinion. We'll get that into a bit. And the reason I wanted to start talking about this is because France actually is testing out free public transport. And I do want to talk about that because in France, more towns and cities are introducing different forms of free public transport. Now, That is something that I do want to talk about. Does it seem like something that's practical to actually happen in the UK? Does our community deserve a free transport to get from point A to point B? These are definitely things that I want to talk about. Do you think it's impractical to introduce free transport? What do you think? I would love to hear. So go on right ahead. Call me up on 07852473473. Or very simply, if you're listening to us on any of our lives, all you got to do is comment down below. And when you do comment down below, we can have a direct conversation. You can tell me your opinions. Even if you disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. Like I always say, it's okay to have different opinions. It's okay to think differently to other people. As long as you don't impose your opinion on other people, you're perfectly fine. So if you do have a different way of thinking, of a different perspective, please don't be embarrassed. Please don't be shy. Go on right ahead and comment down below or call me. Now, with that being said, I also want to remind you to check us out on social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relaks Radio, and we are dishing out some pretty good content, keeping you updated with what is going on around the world, and more specifically in the UK as well. We talk about entertainment, we talk about politics, we talk about current affairs, business, technology, whatever you need to hear. We are talking about right here at Relaks Radio. And let's be real, it's the 21st century. All of us need good conversation. All of us need to conversate with somebody. And that is why we at Relaks Radio are here for you 24/7, 365. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio, and make sure that you stick around. the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Trap, the show where we trap you with the best of conversation. You're listening to Relax Radio, and we are an interactive radio community. Okay, we want to hear what you're thinking. We want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. We want to know how your day is going by so far. And if you want to share your opinions with us, if you want to share your ideas with us, all you gotta do is go on and call me on 07852 We have a lot of interesting things to talk about. A lot of things are happening around the world and around the globe, which is why I want to make sure that you are informed and inspired all throughout the day. Now, the one thing that I do want to talk about that happened very recently is Eurovision. Now, if you don't know what Eurovision is basically a song contest. It's huge. It is one of the biggest events that happened, in 2021 with COVID-19 or whatever. And Eurovision basically is a song contest, and it's abbreviated to be ECS sometimes. And it's this international song competition that's organized annually by the European Broadcasting Union, and it features different participants representing their European countries, their home countries. And this year it actually did happen. Okay, so Eurovision 2021 actually did take place amidst COVID concerns, and Italy's Moonskin is this year's winner with their song, with their amazing song. And the UK's James Newman, though, he actually did come in last because his dance track Embers did not gather any points. So actually James Newman did not gain a place at Eurovision 2021. France came in second, Switzerland came in third actually, and Iceland fourth, and Ukraine fifth. Now these are the countries that were that actually placed at Eurovision 2021, whereas like I told you before, Italy's Moonskin is this year's winner. Now the show followed a COVID-19 protocol with an audience of about 3,500, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. There were about 3,500 people, and it was only 20% of the arena's capacity, but it was one of the most high-profile live events to take place amidst the pandemic so far. And it also goes to become an experiment project, sort of, because we gotta start living our lives as normal. We gotta start getting back into the normal life post-COVID, and I know UK is doing actually quite well with regards to dealing with COVID. We've eased down a lot of restrictions, rather. We can dine in now. We're allowed to hug, which is a pretty big deal. And see, in UK, things are going pretty amazingly, actually. I mean, all are so blessed to be living in the UK, where things are getting better. It's certainly not like it was pre-COVID, but it's definitely getting better, and there's definitely some hope, as opposed to countries like India, where things are still so bad. Especially a lot of countries in Asia, actually South Asia to be specific, are in lockdown, and I mean full lockdown, because there's a huge spike in COVID cases in South Asia and in a few countries in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. But that just goes to show that you need to be grateful for every single day that comes by your way, because in the UK, actually, things are getting so much better. It's obviously, like I told you before, it's not the best, but things are getting so much better, and we definitely need to be appreciative and grateful for being able to go about and being able to just interact with friends and just live our lives. But amidst all of that, I do want to remind you to stay safe. Still, if you have to, wear your mask. If you do have any concerns, if you have any symptoms, whatever it is, please rush to the necessary authorities, because it's not just your safety here, but it's the safety of those around you, all your loved ones as well. So I want to remind you that yes, a lot of us are going back to life as we know it. Eurovision is just another example for that, because there were 3,500 people. None of them, there was no social distancing required, because every single one that was at the arena actually did require a negative COVID-19 test. So things are definitely getting back into normal, but that doesn't mean that you be irresponsible. Like we told you before, make sure that you stay safe, make sure that you do whatever it takes to be safe as well, even though the risk is very much reduced here in the UK. With that being said, I also want to remind you, if you're just tuning in, I want to remind you that things are not so great around the world, especially in India and especially in a lot of other South Asian countries. Coronavirus cases are spiking so rapidly, so fast, and those people barely have access to healthcare. Those people barely have access to oxygen, and a lot of people are dying around the world. So, what I want you to do is to be appreciative, to be grateful of the kind of life that you have got here in the UK. Like I always say, I want you to stop complaining about life, okay? Because I know life is probably not the best and it's not the ideal situation here in the UK. And maybe you wish that you were more financially stable. Maybe you wished you had a house like somebody else, like your friends or whatever. But I want you to remember that there is literally people out there who will look at your life, no matter how terrible you think your life is. I promise you that there's going to be somebody out there that is absolutely envious of you, that is absolutely jealous of the kind of life that you were living, and wish they had at least a quarter of the standard of life that you are living. So, which is why I want to remind you to be grateful. Complaining is not really going to get anywhere. It's always okay to want to improve your standards of living, but make sure that you actually take proactive decisions and actions to make your life better without just complaining about it. I also want to remind you to be as grateful and appreciative as possible every single day. The fact that you have breath in your body is definitely something that you need to be thankful about. So count your blessings, even though it may seem like you don't have any. I want to remind you to count your blessings to be as happy as possible, because that's going to kind of help you to be positive throughout the day. Now, that's a little inspiration from me, Jamie, right here on Relax Radio. Make sure that you keep it tuned, because we are going to be talking about some very interesting things. The past couple of minutes, I've been talking about Eurovision. I told you how Moonskin, Italian band, actually, they came in first place with their song, whereas the UK's James Newman actually did not get any place, as he did not get any points for his dance track called Embers. Now, with that being said, we have a lot more interesting things to talk about, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Up on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing, amazing day so far. We've been talking about a lot of different things, a lot of interesting things for the past couple minutes, and the excitement just continues, okay? We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things, and I want to make sure that you are a part of the show because this is interactive radio. This is where we value what you have to say. We value your thoughts, your opinions, your difference of opinions at least. And we absolutely love to hear from you. So go on right ahead, call me up on our numbers, that is 07852 473 473. Or you could, if you're listening to us on any of our lives, it's super simple. All you got to do is comment down below. Now, if you're listening to us on lives, I can directly reply to any of your comments on the lives, and I would say hi to you. I can say hi to anybody out there. We have Rushanara Khan listening in. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And of course, like always, we have Hafsa, Noor listening in. We got a couple people listening in on multiple of our platforms. We have Tim listening in. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Alexander is tuning in. Big love going out to you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Now, with that being said, I want to say again, thank you for everybody that is tuning in. There's a lot of hilarious comments coming in. Thank you for being a part of the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about something for a second, and that's free transport. Okay, free public transport. The reason I want to bring this up is because France has been testing a lot with regards to free transport, free public transport. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think that it's a necessity in our society, or do you just think that it's an impracticality and just a waste of government resources? What do you think? I would absolutely love to hear your take on a free public transport. Go right ahead and drop a comment down below or call me up and let me know what you think. Now, with that being said, let's talk about free public transport. Is it a necessity or is it an impracticality? Now, first of all, in France, a lot of towns and cities are introducing different forms of free public transport, which means you don't have to pay to go in the bus anymore. You don't have to pay to get from point A to point B. Now, these are fare free policies. Could it ever be rolled out in places like London, in places like Paris? Because, we have a lot more people in major cities like this. And could free transport actually be practical in major cities? Now, in September 2018, the northern French city of Dunkirk, if I'm not mistaken, Dunkirk, yeah, they went through what I would say a very quiet to radical transformation. Now, it made its public transport system absolutely free of charge, and I think the mayor at that time was Patrice Vergerty. Now, under the leadership of Mayor Patrice, he had a doctorate in urban planning, and the city became the largest in France to drop fares on local networks, giving in 200,000 metropolitan area residents a fare-free access to 18 bus routes. So if you live in Dunkirk, you already know that you don't have to pay a cent if you use one of these 18 bus routes. And the policy basically has revitalized the former industrial port and helped to reduce carbon emissions, according to a study commissioned by the city and carried out by the Independent Observatory of Free Transport Cities. Now, researchers found that after the move, which was funded by a very small increase in business tax, passengers increased by 60% during the week and doubled on the weekends, with nearly 50,000 trips made per day. Now, of the new users, 48% said that they regularly use a public transport network instead of cars. Now, see, when you do read the statistics, it kind of shows that public transport in fact is a success. Public transport is a good thing, and that it's worked in places that has put in policies for fare free access. Now, we were talking about Dunkirk. If you are just tuning in, we're talking about how a lot of cities in France is actually making its public transport absolutely free of charge for citizens. Now, anybody using public transport, especially in the French city of Dunkirk, you can travel without paying a cent. Now, according to the statistics, it's all amazing, but I absolutely understand that there are quite a lot of divided opinions on whether major cities like London, like Paris, could replicate Dunkirk's fare free model. Now, proponents argue that making public transport free would reduce carbon emissions and pollution and ease the pressures on disadvantaged households, in order to create this more resilient funding model for the future. But now the critics actually rail against the idea of dropping fares because there are, well, a lot of opposing views with regard to free public transport is that it's going to be a pointless major cost and an infrastructure challenges involved in transferring a policy tested in small towns to sprawling metropolitan hubs. So I guess the idea of free public transport is very contested. It, to be fair enough, even in France, it has been implemented only in fairly small cities and not in metropolitan areas like Paris. And a lot of critics are saying that it's not going to work, especially in places like Paris and London, just because we have so many people and free public transport is just not a practicality. What do you think? Do you think our government owes it to us to, in fact, have a policy change in order to make all of our public transport free, which means that it is definitely going to advantage people of low income to get from place to place. It is going to be easier for people from disadvantaged backgrounds to get to work, to get a hospital, whatever it is. Its life is just going to be so much easier without having to pay that extra fee to get yourself from point A to B. But like I said before, there's a lot of opposition for that. And I think it's definitely interesting that we talk about the pros and cons of free public transport. But before we go into that, I definitely want to know, do you think free public transport is a practical decision to be made by our government, or do you think that it's just impractical, unfeasible, and it's just a waste of resources? Now, let me talk about why people would say free public transport needs to be implemented. Now, okay, for me being very concerned about what's happening with regards to climate change, with pollution, I think one of the best ways to deal with climate change or to put policies in place that would combat climate change is to have free public transport. Because if you do have free public transport, more users will get attracted to the public transportation system as their mode of choice. And that's going to kind of reduce the number of small and private vehicles on street, which is going to result in less congestion and lesser emission as well. Now, it's definitely going to be good for the environment, but I hear your concerns. I know that this essentially is not 100% true, just because if somebody has their own vehicle, just making free transport isn't going to be an incentive. So these are definitely things that we are going to be talking about. So make sure that you keep it tuned, because I do want to talk about the cons of having free public transport. So make sure that you tune in so that we can discuss all of this in detail. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing, amazing day so far. I know it's a Monday, and I know it's kind of hard sometimes to get back into the groove on a Monday. But I want to remind you that we are here for you 24/7, 365 to give you that inspiration that you need to get going with your day. And listen, I want to remind you to be as positive as possible all the time, okay? Especially on a Monday, it's absolutely imperative that you remain positive, that you remain full of positive energy all throughout the day. And that's not just going to help you lift your spirits, but those around you as well. So make sure that you be as positive as possible, especially on a day like today, on a Monday. And be sure to just smile and use this day to do whatever it takes to make yourself happy. So reward yourself, treat yourself on a Monday, go out for a movie with friends, be happy and smile more so that you can definitely get rid of all of those Monday blues. Now, with that being said, we're here for you 24/7, 365. Everybody needs a bit of conversation sometimes. And if we are here to give you that conversation on a plethora of different platforms, we go live on all of our social media channels. So if you want to say hi to me, or if you want to say hi to anybody that's listening in, all you gotta do is comment down below. We have a lot of people listening in. I want to say hi to Andrew listening in. Thank you for being a part of the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. We also have Rushnara. I hope I'm saying your name right. We have Rushnara tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. We have Undead Mosca. I don't know, but that's your username. Thank you for being a part of the show as well. And also, very interestingly, we have somebody called Meghna Uddin listening in. And Meghna has some very, very interesting points about free public transport. Now, earlier on, I was actually talking to you about free public transport. I was talking to you about if it's a practicality, if it's practical to actually implement free public transport in our societies, or if it's just something that seems very unfeasible and a waste of resources. Now, Meghna Uddin says, yes, there should be policy change, especially for those disadvantaged, and also for environmental reasons. She said it's a good topic, and she also said that Luxembourg has actually already put in place free for all transport, which is absolutely amazing. So kudos to Luxembourg for doing that. Kudos to cities like Dunkirk in France for actually implementing, free public transport. Now, I promised you that we will talk about the pros and cons of implementing free public transport. I told you how more users will get attracted to public transport, which is going to result in less congestion in the streets, which is definitely one thing that needs to be tackled. And we also spoke of how having free public transport is going to attract people more, which means that there is going to be lesser emission on our roads, and it's going to be environmentally a positive impact on the environment. So I completely agree with Meghna Uddin. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your opinions. I truly do value it. And listen, if you want to be like Meghna and just share your ideas about what we were talking about, or if you simply just want to say hi or share how your day went with me, I would love to hear from you. So please don't feel afraid or don't feel shy to comment if you're listening to us on any of our lives, or if you're listening to us on our app. All you gotta do is call me on 07852 During the commercials, actually, I did get to talk to a couple of people, so I want to say thank you for everybody that's tuning in. It's been such a pleasure to have you on board. Now, going back into the topic that we were discussing, which is public transport, free public transport, is that a practicality? We were talking about the pros, right? I told you how it's good for the environment. I told you how it's definitely a way to deal with congestion on the road. Now, again, we need to talk about how time taken to purchase a travel ticket will be saved. Saved rather, it will be accessible to economically weaker sections of society. You know, people will be able to transport themselves from point A to point B without having to worry about the fare. It will reduce the societal gap between between rich and poor in the society, as people from all economic statuses will be able to travel together. Now, it will also provide job opportunities to more people, as public transportation vehicles will be required to more public transportation vehicles will be required. So yeah, thank you very much for everybody that did share their opinions. Meghna, Udin, I completely agree with you. I completely think it's true. See, I just shared the comment. Meghna says, yes, there should be policy change, especially for those disadvantaged environmental reasons. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with us. So, just like Meghna said, there is a lot of positive impacts from actually. There are a lot of positive impacts on implementing free public transport, but let's talk about the cons for a second. What are the disadvantages of actually having public transport? Now, the first thing is, initially managing the crowd in public transport will be a major challenge, especially in populated cities. In London, there's going to be a lot of people. If public transport becomes free, fare free, or free of charge, there's going to be a lot of people trying to access it. So there is going to be an issue with managing the crowd in public transport, especially in the times that we're living in, especially with COVID-19. Now, the other thing with free public transport, definitely it helps the society. Like Meghna said, it definitely helps the society with regards to people that come from uh, lesser advantaged or disadvantaged backgrounds can definitely access public transport if it's fare free without a worry. But and also it's good for the environment with regards to lesser emissions, because people will avoid using their personal vehicles to get places. But other than that, it also is a huge cost on the government. It is going to be a burden on the government to maintain the quality and to financially sustain the public transportation system, because right now sustaining the public transportation system depends on our fares. So that is going to be an added burden on the government, and an added burden on the government technically means an added burden on us as well as citizens, because it's going to come in the form of taxes and whatnot. So that essentially is a con of public transport. Again, many people will not use public transport as it will be crowded. And yeah, and according to human psychology, actually, free things are not valued so much. So the system may get abused by the public. Okay, so that essentially are a few cons on using public transport, free public transport, implementing free public transport. But like Meghna, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So go right ahead and comment down below and get on board the show. welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, Relax Radio. This is the chat club on Relax Radio. I want to say a big thank you going out to every single person that's tuning in. We've had some very interesting conversation for the past hour and 50 minutes, actually. We've been talking about a lot of interesting things, and I want to say a big thank you going out to everybody listening in. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for keeping me company while I keep you company. Now, if you haven't heard of what Relax Radio is, we are basically an organization, an interactive community-based radio station. Okay, we're all about giving you the conversation that you need to hear, making sure that you are informed with what is going on around the world. So, if you want to keep yourself informed and inspired, all you gotta do is make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, earlier on, we spoke of a lot of different things. We have a bunch of people listening in. Actually, thank you so much to every single person that is tuning in. We have Roshanara Khan listening in. We have Meghna Odin listening in as well. Thank you for being a part of the show. Meghna actually shares her thoughts and opinions. Like Meghna, if you want to be a part of the show and let us know what's going on with whatever we are talking about earlier on, we were talking about free public transport. And I asked you if you think it's a good idea. I gave you a whole list of pros and cons as to whether free public transport is actually a practicality or if it's absolutely unfeasible, especially in metropolitan areas like London and other major cities. I would love to hear your opinions as well. We have a lot of people that did share their opinion. Like I told you, Meghna is one of them. Thank you for being a part of the show. It's been such a pleasure to have you on board. Now, with that being said, I want to change our course of discussion, to say the least, and talk about something kind of different but equally important. And that is how you what you can do to better yourself as a person. Now, I know this talk kind of sounds pretty cliche, but at the end of the day, I feel like if you don't love yourself, you can't really show love to anybody else in the world. And if you're not good to yourself, you can't be good to anybody else because you can't even be good to yourself. Which is why it's so important that you learn how to be good to yourself, where you learn to love yourself, to say the least. Now, that's what I want to talk about for the next couple minutes. And I want to talk about a specific thing called negative self-talk. Okay? You ask, what exactly is negative self-talk? I will get to it right now. Now, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you heard of that little voice in your head, the one that kind of ruminates on mistakes and replay cringeworthy events and like overthinks every single situation, overthinks all the bad things that has happened to you in your life? Now, sometimes it can be downright rude. That little voice in your head, I hate it. It can be downright rude and unkind, with so much harsh criticism and judgments about your work and your about your appearance, your personality. And this mental chatter, this negative mental chatter, essentially is what psychologists, I don't know, I said that word so weirdly, but yeah, this negative mental chatter, the toxic mental chatter in your head, is what psychologists call self-talk. Now, unfortunately, this inner dialogue tends to arrive with a lot of negativity. And if we give this chatter too much influence, it can definitely impact our confidence, our self-esteem, and also our productivity. Now, even the most successful and the happiest people experience at least some negative self-talk. So even if you think that you are a positive person, I kid you not when I tell you that there is going to be times in your life when you experience this negativity, these loud thoughts coming from your inner voice. Now, this essentially is not the issue, because sometimes you're going to think of negative things. That's just a given, right? We live with a lot of negative things happening around us, and your mind is naturally going to think of negative things. But the problem is that a lot of us give these negative ideas or negative self-talk a lot of weight. We choose to engage with them, and the storylines we create that around them actually get in our way. So, okay, I want to tell you that if there is no off switch to our ruminating, our criticizing ourselves. The question is how to combat negative self talk. Ultimately, we are the ones that can control our inner voice. Only you can control your thoughts, like I've always told you. Even if it sometimes doesn't feel that way, if it doesn't feel like you can control your own thoughts, trust me when I say you are the only one that can do it. But one effective tool to prove the truth of this is meditation. Now, use an app. We live in the digital world. If you have the resources, you can definitely. There's so many amazing apps out there, personal apps that I use to help me decrease negative emotions. By meditating. You need to train your mind to get to shift perspective and not let your thoughts and feelings define you. Now, with regular practices such as meditation, it teaches to kind of let go of self-talk and let go of rumination, and instead access a place of deep confidence that exists beyond the thinking mind. So throughout the day, you kind of have dialogue running in our heads. Trust me, I know that it can get really exhausting sometimes. It can range from talking ourselves through how to carry out a task to making observations about our internal or external environment and situation. In recent years, it has become among the most discussed topics in psychology, with researchers honoring their self talk definition. Now, there are different types of self talk that we can experience, and that is actually something that we need to talk about. So, a simple question with a not so simple answer is, what are thoughts? What are thoughts in our heads? But being unafraid to question them and experience them can actually make all the difference. So, what I'm going to try to do within the next couple of minutes is to help you unlock your natural self esteem, right? Even though a lot of us have different types of personalities. Some of us are super extroverted, some of us are introverted, and we don't really have that much self-confidence as much as the next person. But I want to try to help you unlock your natural self-esteem. Okay, much of the advice around overcoming our inner critic focuses on how to stop negative self-talk by replacing it with a more positive inner dialogue. Now, I know that almost all of you are very aware or or you've experienced this inner dialogue. Okay, now, see, I feel like rather than trying to override negative thoughts with more positive ones, you need to remember that thoughts are just thoughts, neither negative or positive. We are the ones that are adding this extra layer of a meaning with labels. Does that make sense to you? Because a lot of the time we just think of random things and we add this sort of positive aspect or negative aspect to it. Now, when working out how to combat negative self talk, we should understand that our thoughts and feelings that fuel our inner dialogue are neither good nor bad. Happiness is just happiness, and sadness is just a sadness. But it's the storyline we create them around them that can actually cause the issues. So rather than trying to learn how to stop self talk altogether, what I want you to do is to listen. Be curious, acknowledge the fact that these thoughts without judgment, and let them go. So, if you're just tuning in, we're actually talking about negative self talk. Now, if you ask me a question, what self talk is, if you are the sort of person that has this like voice inside your head, and you forever, for eternity, you have this internal dialogue that is going on with yourself, that can sometimes be negative. And that can essentially have an impact on how we deal with our day-to-day activities, that can have an impact on our productivity, so on and so forth. So what you need to do is to try to accept the fact that sometimes things are not always going to be great, and you need to try to be as positive as possible. Now, meditation will definitely not silence the voice in our heads. If you are somebody that has that constant inner voice talking, meditating can be one of the hardest things you have to do, because how do you essentially quiet down your mind and quiet down and listen to everything around you when you have this internal voice that is jabbering away 24/7, 365? I know meditation, if you're a person like that, meditation can be so tough. Now, meditation, essentially, what you need to understand is that meditation isn't going to silence the voice in your heads. It is not the intention, but instead it's going to help you to find a new perspective that allows you to let go of your inner critic. Now, that is what's scary. It's okay to criticize yourself sometimes, because I guess through a certain level of criticism, that's how you know where you went wrong, or how you should improve. But a lot of self criticism can actually harm you in more ways than one. Okay, so an excessive amount of negative self criticism, especially, is going to harm you a lot. So you need to find a new perspective that allows you to let go of your inner critic. Okay, so that's essentially something that I do want to that I do want to talk about, this, that how to stop negative self-talk. I have a lot more tips and tricks to share with you, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, Relax Radio. This is the chat trap on Relax Radio, where we trap you with the best of conversation. We've been having some very interesting conversation. We spoke of Eurovision, we spoke of the necessity of free public transport, and we had a lot of you chime in with your opinions and your perspectives, which I absolutely love. So make sure that you do go and let me know what's going on, what you're thinking, because I would absolutely love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, earlier on as well, we were talking about something a little bit more personal, and that is negative self talk. Negative self talk is something that all of us tend to do. If you have that little voice in your head that is always criticizing everything that you do, then you are somebody that is a victim to negative self talk. So, what I want to do within the next couple of minutes is give you a few tips and tricks of what you can do as a person in order to get rid of all of this negativity, especially the criticisms that you pose on yourself. So if you want to know, you definitely got to stick around. But before we get into that conversation, I want to remind you to download our app. It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android. So make sure that you download our app so that you can take us with you wherever that you go. Now, if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, I know that there's a lot of live streams. This is being live streamed on a lot of social media platforms. So if you're listening in on any of those, all you got to do is comment down below, comment wherever, so that I can directly see it and directly reply to you and directly have a conversation with you. So go ahead and do that so that we can be as interactive as possible, because that's what we are about. Every one of us needs some good conversation at some times, and that is what we are here at Relax Radio for you. We're here to give you the best of conversation. To do that, we want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Even though it's different to what we say, we absolutely do not mind. We'll love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. Now, with that being said, let's go on into the conversation for today, which is a negative self-talk. Now, I feel like we as individuals, we spend so much time telling ourselves that we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we're not talented enough, or thin enough, or rich enough. And these are things that we, more often than other people, we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves that we don't deserve the things that we want, or that the things we want to have or experience will never happen to us. And even if they do, they will be disappointing. These are things that we as human beings, every single one of us at some point in our life have said this to ourselves. Now, our negative self-talk affects us in a very powerful, toxic way, which is why I wanted to talk about this for a second. You know, if we think something is possible, we are more likely to make the effort to achieve it. But if you think that you don't deserve something or it's impossible to achieve, you won't even bother trying, which is a big problem. Because I've told you, trying is the path to success. See, if you think you're a good person who deserves to live a life you love, you are going to create that life for you. But if you think that you are some undeserving person that is not capable of enough, you are going to sabotage your own effects without even realizing it. That's why I really want to talk to you about negative self talk. Studies show that your thoughts also have a physical impact on your body. Okay, so these demonstrate how your thoughts directly influence how you act. So, what exactly are the effects of negative self talk? I told you how you are going to be not making the best decisions, that you are not going to make decisions that is good for yourself, because you keep doubting yourself so much, and you keep criticizing yourself so much, so that you're not going to make the best possible decision for yourself. And that's really problematic. So what can you do with regards to being more confident, to be more optimistic, to be more motivated to do what it takes to achieve your goals? So essentially, how do you stop negative self-talk? See, for some people, shifting your negative thoughts to positive ones is a lot more easier said than done. And a lot of us have this lifelong habit of seeing the bad in everything. We're always so determined to see the negative side of things. Okay, now you try to justify that your negativity by pointing out everything bad that's happening in the world and saying, look, we're just being realistic. I've heard a lot of people do that. A lot of people that are negative, a lot of them say, oh, look, we are just being realistic. But in reality, what you're doing is you're mentally sabotaging yourself. The good thing is, at the end of the day, you ultimately control your own thoughts because you are the source of them. This means that you can learn to cautiously choose to replace your negative thoughts with positive ones that will make your life better. So, not all negative thoughts are the result of your inner critic running wild. There are some types of negative thinking rather, that if you can learn to identify them and counter them, you can create happier and more successful and a more fulfilling life. So if you're figuring out how you can quieten down that inner critic that is always telling you that you don't deserve something or that you're not good enough or whatever, if you want to figure out how to quieten them down, I will be giving you how you can overcome your negative self talk by giving you a few examples as well. So make sure that you do stick around because we'll be talking to you about that in a minute, actually. So make sure that you stick around. Make sure that you stick around with us at Relax Radio. Right now, let's get into a break, but make sure that you do stick around. Before I leave, actually, I want to say thank you for every single person that's tuning in. We have a Pratik Kale. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your names, but we have Pratik Kale that is listening in who says, that's so true. We have Meghna Uddin listening in. We have Rushna Khan listening in. Thank you so much for all of y'all that have been a part of the show. And if you want to do the same and share your thoughts and your opinions, all you got to do is comment down below so that we can have an interactive conversation. With that being said, make sure that you do stick around because in a few minutes, actually, I'll be talking to you about how you can overcome negative self-talk and what you can do in order to get rid of that inner critic. With that being said, let's take a little break, but make sure that you do stick around. back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Wrap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing Monday. I know it's kind of hard to get back into the groove on Monday. Today, we've been talking about how you can beat the Monday blues. And if you caught the first part of the show, I give you some tips on what you can do to ensure that your Monday isn't all that bad. Now, with that being said, I want to remind you to smile as often as possible, because that, I feel like, is a solution to a lot of problems out there. So make sure that you just be happy and you try to look at positive side of things. Now, with that being said, one thing that I do want to talk about is negative self-talk. I've been talking about that for the past couple of minutes, and I promised you that I will share with you what you can do, or what you can do on a day-to-day basis in order to overcome negative self-talk. Now, okay, so first of all, I feel like I'd like to share with you 5 of the main types of negative thinking so that you can recognize when they happen and then consciously choose to replace them with something more positive. So essentially, what I'm going to be doing is to give you ideas of what are the instances or what are the types of negative thinking, so that if it happens to you, you can instantly decide and change that kind of thinking. Now, the first thing that I do want to talk about is this idea of always or never thinking. This is when you find yourself thinking in terms of always, never, every time, everyone, no one, and so on and so forth, which kind of means that you generalize everything. For example, thoughts like, oh, I will never get a raise, or thoughts like nobody cares about me, or I mess up every single time, no matter what. These types of thinking rather, can be very detrimental to your happiness, and it's not based on reality. When you start having this always or never thinking, you are going to kind of get hard. It's kind of going to be hard for you to get out of it. It's not true that no one cares about you. It's not true that you will never get a raise, but it's your mind's a way of telling you or criticizing yourself, to say the least. So that last one, see, you are never going to get a raise unless you work to get a raise. But then you're the only one that's creating this situation, which means that only you can change it. Okay, so it's not an absolute given. Nothing in life is an absolute given. So you need to get rid of this always or never thinking. You need to stop thinking things like, oh, I will never get a raise. Nobody cares about me. I will always screw up. These are kinds of thinking that you absolutely need to get rid of, because that essentially is going to lead to negative self-talk. So if you want to be positive, if you want to be successful, one thing that you need to do is to get rid of this pattern of thinking, which is called the always or never thinking. Now, the other thing is other thing I want you to do rather, in order to get rid of negative self-talk, get rid of that little voice in your head that is always criticizing you. What you can do is to focus this is when you need to stop focusing on the negative. When you focus on the negative, it's when you're so busy looking at everything that's bad in the world that you are absolutely blinded to all the good things that are going on. See, the truth is, even with COVID-19, even with all of the horrible things that is happening in the world, life isn't all bad, just as it isn't all good. Okay? Life is a combination of good and of bad. There is a positive side and a negative side to pretty much every single thing. Okay? And since you get to choose what you are going to focus on, why not choose to focus on the positive? I promise you that you are going to have such a better life. You are going to be so much more healthy. You are going to have a better relationship with everybody around you if you stop focusing on the negative. I get that life isn't all good, but it's not all bad either. So focus on the positive, and I promise you that your standard of life will be so, so much better. Now, catastrophic predicting. This is something else that you need to get rid of if you want to be happy. So this is when you imagine the worst possible outcome in any situation and convince yourself of its inevitability, usually without any real facts to back it up. A good example of this would be that you begin to imagine that you're going to get laid off from work, or that North Korea is going to send a nuclear missile to London. Even when there's no concrete evidence that supports your prediction, you're going to be thinking about this over and over again. That is what psychologists call catastrophic predicting. Now, even though the worst case scenario rarely ever happens, you act like it's just a matter of time and you let it dominate your thoughts and your actions. See, at the end of the day, the truth is that you don't know what the future holds. Okay? And history shows that worst case scenarios seldom ever come to pass. So why worry about something that hasn't even happened yet? And why worry about something that most likely never will? You already have enough things to worry about without worrying about, things that might not happen. You are much better off simply focusing on what is actually happening in the current moment. And you need to focus on that and such as the task at hand. So get rid of that kind of negative thoughts. Guilt tripping, you need to get rid of guilt tripping is basically when you focus on everything bad you've ever done, everything that makes you feel guilty or ashamed, and allows you to define your perception of who you are. You tell yourself that you're not good enough, or you're a bad person, and that you don't deserve to feel happiness or achieve success. And so you give up even before you start. Now, I've seen people waste their entire lives because of their feelings of guilt over something that they did decades ago. That you don't deserve to hold that against yourself for so long. The thing is, everyone on this planet, no matter how rich or how successful they are, have done things that we regret. But you should never allow that to define you. You also have done a lot of really great stuff in your life. And trust me when I say every single person on this planet has done things that they absolutely regret. But like I told you before, you should not allow that to define you. You have a lot of things that you did in life that are absolutely great. So if you focus on the good things and you start to see yourself as a fundamentally good person who has made some mistakes, which is absolutely human, by the way, you kind of can achieve great things. So one thing that I want you to do is start focusing on the good things. Try to see yourself as a good person, no matter what bad things that you regret that you did, despite of all of those. Open yourself up once again to the life and how the infinite possibilities that we have in life today. Begin to listen how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others. Do you focus on the negative and assume the worst? These are things that you definitely need to stop. Now, with that being said, it's about that time that I head on out of here. But don't worry, because we have a lot more interesting conversation coming up. We have a lot more interesting things to talk about. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.